Hello and welcome to International Affairs being broadcasted here in the SATV's Gulshan studio. We will be analyzing and dissecting all the major news elements from around the globe, especially concerning the geopolitical arena. Before we begin our discussion today, let me introduce my panel. Over Zoom, we will be having Norman Floyd Barnes joining us from Washington, District of Columbia. And here in the studio, I will have Associate Professor Shibli Islam, hailing from Rajshahi University, who of course specializes in international law. I welcome both gentlemen onto the program today. I want to begin the discussion with Norman Floyd Barnes, all the way in Washington, D.C. We know that there has been a latest news regarding the Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. He is estimating the total U.S. war cost to be $37.5 billion US dollars, which is $8 to $9 billion more than the public estimate we have had before. I want to ask you, sir, a very good morning to you. How do you see this, as I'm sure the taxpayers are going to be concerned after some time that this war is going to cost a lot of funds? How are you seeing these latest developments? We have more connecting with the U.S. today, especially in regards to the Middle East, with Saudi Arabia as well, as a new nuclear pact is approaching. But I want to ask you, sir, how do you see this war cost as it is climbing almost every day?
Greetings. Good morning here from Washington. Yes, yesterday the Secretary met with the Senate House Appropriation Committee, and they discussed budget. Him, and the Joint Chief General, Joint Chief Staff, talked to Congress about increasing the budget. They announced that approximately $37.5 billion has been spent since February on this war, and they're requesting additional funds because they basically need more money, because they need more weapons, they need more equipment, they need more of everything. And Congress grilled them yesterday about what is the plan? You asking the Congress for more money, but what is your exit plan? And nothing was discussed on that, except they were saying that they are making progress, and Congress is returning that they are not very pleased with the answers, because you told us that you had a defeated enemy, and now you need more money, and you have no exit plans. And Iran, based on what Congress is saying, appears to be very strong and to be very resilient and resistant, and they have a countermeasure for everything we do. So we are today preparing to receive the bodies, I think 2 to 3 bodies of fallen soldiers they identified. The president is prepared to receive them at Dover in the ceremony to receive their remains. But Congress is not happy about the answers they receive, the avoidance of answers they receive from both the general and the secretary. So they have a large battle to deal with in regards to getting money, because they're talking about increasing, doubling the amount of what they have already, and the current funds are scheduled to run out by September. So that gives a strong indicator to the plan not being announced on what's going on. So it appears that the United States government is prepared to go beyond September. They need more funds to do that. And they're announcing this through this process, they're announcing to the world and also to Iran that basically they have an answer. They have not been able to control it, and there's no solution moving forward, even though the president is stating that we are no longer interested in a peace deal with Iran. Iran has stated that they are formally at war with the United States. So we are now seeing logistical issues going on, logistical adjustments. The U.S. is sending fuel trucks, actually fuel planes to Israel, and Israel is basically staging with the United States for a more complete offensive. So it appears that we are basically moving towards a more aggressive attack. They mentioned yesterday about they discovered that the nuclear armaments, actually the nuclear resources that currently possessed by Iran has been moved to another location. The president indicated that they will plan to attack that location. Even though Congress mentioned that they asked the question, do we have the resources necessary to complete the job? No answer was given. Do we have the resources to basically go into the mountain and destroy the nuclear resources? No answer. There was no answer given.
Right.
Stated that yes, we have the ability, but the question is, do you have the will to do that? Do we have the ability? Are we ready? Are we prepared for that? Are we prepared to end this situation? No answers was given. So yesterday was a situation where the Senate was left uh, uh, very lost exactly what's going on. All they know is that now we have another paycheck. Their paycheck is increasing, and you're asking the U.S. citizens to front a bill, to front a budget that has no solution. And at the times we are dealing with, what's going on. Congress is fully aware that we have midterms coming up. So it appears that we are now looking at a waiting game. And Iran is also watching to see exactly what's going on. So now there's a possibility that this thing will go on beyond September. And at that time, anything can happen. There could be a change in the number of voters from the House, the Congress, and the funding could possibly be decreased, increase, decrease, whatever, something is going to happen. But it appears that nothing is very positive in terms of the U.S. government and what the people are thinking right now about the war. So it's an uphill battle for the Trump administration right now to figure out how the strategy are they going to convince the U.S. citizens and now elected leaders that we should continue this war and to what extent. This is very good news for Iran because they're now seeing, and now you're seeing the aggression move towards the Horn of Africa and the Houthis, and also Hamas is now talking about expanding. They elected a new leader, and they are now. I'm hearing rumor that they're now looking at expanding their aggression towards Europe. So now I'm looking at a all-out regional war that is now developing into a world war situation. Uh, we are now in the mix of change. Change is going to happen. I predict that this situation is going to escalate, and there'll be more players entering into the game. The U.S. is now has a military mindset. Israel is pausing to increase their attacks, and Iran is also pausing to increase their attacks on the Gulf states. So
Right.
things are escalating to a very dangerous posture for the next couple of months in regards to what's going on. And a lot of guessing is going on, a lot of hoping and praying that one party gives in. But it appears that Iran is steady, focused on what they want to do, and the United States is focused on what they do. So we now have two people who don't want to concede, two governments that don't want to concede. They want to basically get into a all-out confrontation, which would be disadvantage to the world.
Right. Excellent statements coming from Norman Floyd Barnes, actually recapping and connecting the dots when it comes to the U.S. administration's efforts inside the Middle East and specifically Iran. However, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has stated that the United States is still willing to negotiate an end to the Iran crisis, but Tehran is not serious about such talks. alongside US President Donald Trump, has also said he has no interest in meeting with Iran until Tehran is ready for a meaningful nuclear talks. Speaking during the meeting with the Lebanese President Joseph Aoun in the Oval Office, Trump claimed that Iran was desperate to meet with the US but had not yet offered the kind of dialogue Washington wanted. These are very stressful times, as I make from Norman Floyd Barnes' statements as well. Turning to Associate Professor Shibli Islam. You were hearing Norman in trying to recap some of these details. Marco Rubio was at the Southeast Asian Foreign Ministers meeting here as they are also understanding that 3 oil tankers carrying Saudi crude to Asia reversed course, especially from threats from Yemen's Iran-aligned Houthis. So I want to ask you, we've seen 3 months of disaster happening. It has ripple effects even here in our economy, when we had to stand at the queue for more than 16 hours just to refuel the car. That is the effect of the war. Even minutely, it is having an adverse effect on the humanity. So I want to ask you how you're seeing these recent events and how you predict the coming 5 months left of the year.
Well, thank you so much for the question. Well, this war is having a devastating effect in all over the world. In the Westerners' lens, if we see, then we will find out the maximum benefit is going to China. China is, having treaties, talks, they're selling their weapons, they're transferring their technologies to different parts, be it Ukraine or be it in Iran. And the resistance that's been made by Iran, it was unthinkable. It was unthinkable for United States of America. But now the situation turns into a turmoil. And the whole region has got its far-reaching consequences. And when a war is prolonged, it has far-reaching consequences for the world as well. And that is exactly what's happening in terms of war in Iran. Well, everybody is claiming against each other, but there is no ray of hope that these two countries will have a result in the talk table. So
right.
On the negotiation table, you have to have the mindset of negotiation, which we are not seeing right now. So I think this situation will escalate again, because the force of Axis, the Houthis, because the war is going on in different fronts now, and
it's gone beyond borders.
And it's gone beyond borders as well. And the Middle East is divided into 2 parts. One is pro-China, which wants to have a good relationship with US as well. That these are the bigger part of the Middle East, including Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Kuwait, and all these countries. But there is another part, that's UAE, who doesn't want to have good relationship with China, who wants to heavily rely on United States of America. But this dividation is creating the problem.
Right.
But what
Accurate.
Iran targeted, the principal purpose of Iran was these, because Middle East is full of United States military bases. So they want these bases to withdraw from the Middle East. And they're putting pressure on the trade, they're putting pressure on the Hormuz Strait,
as well as the Red Sea.
So that these governments, who were once the friend of the United States of America, and recently by different statements of Trump, that has some far-reaching consequences as well.
Right.
So for these consequences, these states are pretty much divided and pretty much confused what to do and what not to do. Now we are in complete turmoil. So let's see, in the coming course, the situations will be de-escalating. And you have to understand, these countries, these Gulf countries, these are not democracies that people will come to the street and put pressure to the government to go for the peace process.
Of course, it's Saudi Arabia. It's owned by that Al Saud family.
Exactly. These are the monarchies. So for example, if that happens in other parts of the world, the people would have came out of the street. And you have to understand, they have a historical enmity between United States, America, and Iran that started from the revolution of 1979, Islamic Revolution of 1979. And when the United States of America killed their highest leader, they're not going to back down. And the whole world is surprised by the resistance of Iran and the kind of capacity they have built up during the years. For example, the drone and the missile technology. And considering the distance of Israel and Iran and the range of missiles that Iran have and the capacities that they have and the force of access like Hezbollah, Hamas and the Houthis and the different paramilitia forces that they patronize. So this if the United States want to prolong this war is going to prolong, and the international trade will have far-reaching consequences. And the trade routes that we were talking about is about 20% of the world energy that's been carried out through these trade routes. Well, the food supplies are carried out through these trade routes. So you were talking about major trades. You were talking about food, energy, which is indispensable for running Middle East economy fluently. So definitely a great danger ahead, and concern for all the Middle East states, so that because they should come up with try to negotiate with Iran and US, because ultimately this war is not giving profit to anyone.
It's a lose-lose situation.
It's a lose-lose situation. By not firing a single missile, the China is having the maximum benefit out of it.
Of course.
So this is the US policymakers have to understand that as well. So I think I don't think any hope is coming. So, but still we understand that when the pressure will come, financial pressure and the pressure around these countries, then there will be a talk in the negotiation table, and then that will be a fruitful talk.
Of course, excellent statements from Professor Shibli Islam. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for a short commercial break. Afterwards, we'll be seeing the double standards of the United States administration. Why I say this is because recently, the United States and Saudi Arabia are getting into a nuclear agreement. However, Iran can't still have access to nuclear weaponry. With that being stated, it is time for a short commercial break, requesting my audience to stay tuned for more on this very program. Hello and welcome to International Affairs, and my name is Shamsul Alam Pantha.
I don't see an easy resolution to this because every slight deviation from the plan,
opening an open war conflict with them,
testing nuclear missiles,
Russia's announcement of these supposedly successful testing,
special and exclusive footage that is being played on SATV screen,
Really coming to terms with Hamas.
Damage estimated between this entire issue.
President Trump is expected to hold bilateral talks.
preserving biodiversity and tackling climate change.
We cannot protect the planet before we negotiate peace.
Where is it going? Is it understanding the needs of its people before the needs of this global world?
For China to come to agreement,
They will face better projects.
With President Xi of China and President Lee of South Korea.
Trump's White House that is in favor of these things.
simply not enough action being taken to address the problem of fossil fuels.
What their plan initially is towards the Caribbean, a place that has been met with two types of disasters.
Bangladeshi students at the same level of opportunity internationally and domestically.
International Affairs. Watch every Sunday to Thursday at 2 p.m. only on SATV and SATV Digital. Hello and welcome to International Affairs, and my name is Shamsul Alam Pantha.
I don't see an easy resolution to this because every slight deviation from the plan.
Opening an open war conflict with them.
Testing nuclear missiles.
Nuclear energy pact that the US and Saudi Arabia will be sharing. According to the Reuters news agency, the Trump administration plans to submit to Congress a pact with Saudi Arabia to share nuclear power technology that does not include safeguards the US has long said would stop materials being used in nuclear weapon programs. According to various sources as well as Reuters, it would effectively not have the IAEA oversight as well. Dangerous to assume in this kind of condition while the US is at a war with Iran. So Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. However, its neighbor and across the strait, Saudi Arabia, will be having a deal with the US. There is more for Iran to destroy now that it is building up. And there has been numerous calls that nations such as Kuwait and Bahrain is going to be continuing to face the brunt force of the IRGC of Iran. I want to ask you, Norman Floyd Barnes, how are you assessing this? The US going into a deal with Saudi Arabia. Congress will have 90 days to object if there is any kind of legal ramifications. I want to get a know-how from you. How are you seeing this kind of development happening while the war is ongoing? Norman.
Yes, this negotiation between the U.S. and Saudi Arabia is sending a mixed message, actually sending a very deliberate message to Iran that we believe in nuclear technology, but we do not believe you should have it. And that is the question. There's never a question about nuclear enrichment, nuclear advancement, technology growth, the use of it for quality of life issues. But because it is Iran, and because Iran is state sponsor to Hamas and other groups, the Houthis, and the situation in Palestine, through the association with Israel, Israel believed that these groups are out to eliminate them, to destroy them. So if they get an option or an opportunity to have a nuclear weapon, Israel is very concerned about their welfare. So the plan is not to allow Iran to have the opportunity to have any type of nuclear enrichment and the possibility, the threat of eliminating Israel from the face of the earth. So the problem here is, as we're talking about it, the world sees that you're playing, you can't have it both ways. You want to have it both ways. You want to have nuclear enrichment in that region, but you don't want a certain group of people, a certain civilization, a certain culture, a certain group to have it because you fear that they may use that against you, in which Hamas stated that they have a global intent to change and bring terror and be down with Israel, the problem with Israel. So we are now seeing, and this plays into what Iran is saying, that now, based on what we're hearing, that we are going to move forward with our plan for nuclear enrichment, and we are not going to give it up. We're not going to give it up because we feel that we have a right as a nation to have quality of life, nuclear enrichment, and this situation, a situation where now we can defend ourselves from, obviously, countries like the United States and Israel who wants to take over our government. So we feel that we need to we're going to have the right. So I don't see where they're going to give it up. There will be attempts by the United States to to displace it and to remove it, but I don't see this happening. There will be possible situation where we have to consider putting land troops in, which I think they want. They want to bait us into putting troops, physical troops on the ground in which there'll be a catastrophe, a major disaster, something that we don't want to get into. We are aware of this. The United States is aware of the potential, the risk, the harm's way to our troops and things happening. So there's no exit plan. They'll talk about destroying the nuclear enrichment of capabilities of Iran from afar, weapons, drones, bombs, but bombing has never solved the problem on any type of wars we have in this century. Bombing just loosen up the area, create a situation where land troops has to come in and physically attain that. I do not believe the United States has the will. They have the capacity, but the will to put our service members in harm's way. I know the U.S. citizens will not tolerate that. Particularly right now, we believe, the citizens, that the United States should not be involved in this war. This is causing hardship, and it's a war of our own creation. We are now in a situation where we've created a problem and we do not have a solution, and you want the citizens to pay for it with their funds, resources, and their future, their children, their child, their loved ones. This is something that's going to be a real nightmare, and in the next 5 months, we will get a more clarity on exactly which way the United States government and the citizens is moving towards this. So in the meantime, the current administration will do all they can to basically pulverize and weaken and destroy the infrastructure of Iran. And basically, they want to destroy the will. They want them to quit. But this is Iran, and they are not built that way. And things are going to escalate to the next level. And we will have additional players like Yemen, Hamas, other players will come in and see the opportunity that, hey, this is our time to shine and unite and to basically create a holy war against the Western world. So I anticipate more conflict and escalation and additional players, and the region is going to expand and to the point where basically we come into an explosion.
Of course, very drastic measures are coming ahead. Excellent statements from Norman Floyd Barnes. And I want to add on more. There is news coming out of New York that its mayor, the New York City mayor, Zoran Mamdani, called on the U.S. government to arrest Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. In a video released yesterday, the Hague-based International Criminal Court issued an arrest warrant for Benjamin Netanyahu in 2024 over war crimes committed in the Gaza war. Of course, he is stating that the federal government, however, does, and I call on them to join the ICC to execute this warrant. This is what Zoran Mamdani has uttered in a video statement. I want to turn to Associate Professor Shibli Islam. The mayor of New York is going head-to-head on its government to understand the UN General Assembly that's going to happen, the UNGA, in September, and that is when he is urging for the arrest of Benjamin Netanyahu. How do you analyze this? Especially another also build-up related to the Middle East would be the UK Prime Minister. The new Prime Minister, Andy Burnham, is allowing the UK assets to be used in a defensive posture by the United States towards Iran. So, as Norman was saying, a world war kind of situation is brewing. Would you agree with what Norman had said and what I'm even claiming as well?
Well, that's an interesting point that you have pointed out. First of all, Zoran Mamdani doesn't have the jurisdiction or legal authority to arrest Benjamin Netanyahu when he will attend the UN General Assembly later this year. First of all, he has urged the federal agencies. He has talked with his lawyers, his legal assistants, and then they have given their opinion that the mayor of New York doesn't have any authority to arrest. Well, Norman has pointed out very rightly, because the concept of taxpayers' money, that's non-existent in the Middle East, but that's pretty much in existence in United States of America. When the people of United States of America will realize, and they're still realizing, the peace-loving people of the country, they will realize that their taxpayers' money, their money, is going on to a war which is not bearing any fruit, and it doesn't have any fruitful business for them, where in their country the quality of life is decreasing, and the America First, the theme that Trump has came over on, on riding on that theme.
Right.
So that doesn't work this way. So through his different frustrated statements, Donald Trump has already made it acquainted with everyone that this war is a failure. Through his statement in X, through his statement in Twitter, he has made it already clear that this war is an absolute fiasco. But the problem is that you have to, go on with this strategy, the path that you have taken out. You cannot come out of it, because that's how the policies are. Keir Starmer, he lacks precision. That was the reason. That's been narrated against him, that he lacked precision, he lacked on his stand, he lacked a footing. This is why he has been removed as a prime minister, and he is one of the 7th prime minister that's been removed in last 10 years in Britain, and that depicts the instability that the Britain's politics is in. So the new prime minister, Andy Burnham, well, right, he actually made the strategy, and that's the biggest defense move, though he calls it as he will allow using the assets for deterrent, but that will be used for this war against Iran. So definitely that's a clear stand that UK now has taken on behalf of the United States of America. As we all know, they have a historical alliance that starts from the World War era. So definitely there is a new dimension coming out of this situation. So let us hope for the coming days that what will happen in the war situation over there.
Of course, excellent remarks from Professor Shibli Islam, especially regarding the Keir and the transformation towards Andy Burnham. It's time for a short commercial break. Afterwards, we will look at the oil price. It is increasing, as well as nearby in our neighborhood, we are seeing that a movement, a very popular protest movement, the cockroach movement, is now becoming sensational in our next door neighbor. While many were beaten, many were trampled on as well. I will like to continue on as well, because we cannot go on for a break at this very moment. However, we have lost Norman Floyd Barnes' connection once again with Professor Shibli Islam, as we are going through a technical difficulty in the background. Many things to discuss today. Our neighbor India is going through a protest. As we've seen, the students in that nation have been enraged, as they were called in terms of being cockroaches. Not only so, leaders of the Congress party, Rahul Gandhi and Sonia Gandhi, were arrested because they were very vocal in supporting of the movement, and this would be the first challenge to the Prime Minister Narendra Modi as well in so many years that democracy is failing. It is a democratic right for those to gather in peaceful protesting, and that was tethered apart somewhat by the enforcement. I want to get an observation from you, the uncanny resemblance it has with July of 2024 here in Bangladesh.
Well, you pointed out pretty rightly, because the Chief Justice, he called the unemployed youth as cockroaches. That sparked, agitation among the youths, and that has started the movement. The Cockroach Janata Party, it was a satirical movement rather than a political party. But now the recent question leaks in the medical entrance exam, that's called MEET, and after the leak, the exam has been cancelled, and around 2 million people each year, they sat on this exam, and around 150,000 students, they get chance to study in the medical colleges. Now you have to understand, India, the larger part of India lives under the poverty line. There is lack of opportunity for youths. The different promises that's been made by the Prime Minister Modi regarding the employment, they have miserably failed, and the sectorial violence, the violence against the minorities, the lack of space against the political rivals. These are the burning agendas that the India is living through during these decades. So this movement comes in a place where the students are agitated because they want the education minister to be removed from the office. The Pradhan, I think the Dharmendra Pradhan, the education minister, right. They want their resignation. They want the perpetrators of the question leaks. They want them to be brought to justice. They want them to brought to justice. They want a reform in the education sector. So that was the primary agenda when this agitation took place. Later on, the Indian, the large political party, one of the large political party, Indian National Congress, their leader Rahul Gandhi and Priyanka Gandhi, right. they actually supported the movement, and they went there, and they have been picked up by the police, by the law enforcing agency. Austerity measures have been taken against those protesters. They have been fired. They have been shot by the lethal weapon, and many of them have been picked up by the police. They're in custody. So now the movement turns into a violent movement, because their movement towards the march to the parliament is now spread all over the country. Now you have to understand the desperateness of the youth, the frustration of the youth. When the politics, when the government is not, don't deliver, then the educated people, educated students, they come on the streets against the injustices, against the maladministration, against the corruption that's they have been seriously alleged. And from their speeches of the protesters that is regularly coming into the media, they're speaking free, that the kind of austerity measures that's been taken, when you speak against the government, against the policy, if you're Muslim, then you have been termed as a Pakistani. If you are from the northeastern part, then you have been termed as a Chinese. So any critiques of the government is handled rigorously by the Indian authority. So these dissatisfactions, these anomalies, these corruptions has sparked these movements into this greater, in this greater event. So yesterday, that came into the media that Rahul Gandhi was picked up by the law enforcing agencies. He was bleeding from his nose. The Priyanka Gandhi was picked up by the law enforcing agencies, and the way the protesters are handled, it's really shameful for a democracy like India that the lawful or the democratic protest will be handled in such a manner. So let us see. India is a big country. It has a large population. So I don't think the spark in Delhi could spread all over the country. You need, because any student movement to be successful, I think you need the whole country to get into. Different professionals, they joined. All the movie stars, sports stars, they are joining the movement. It transformed itself into a national movement against corruption, against monotonous political rhetorics. They want to see the results. These devastated, frustrated youths, they want a change. They want change of the education minister. They want the change of the policy. And you have rightly pointed out that it has a tremendous resemblance with the movement of July movement that we did have years back. So definitely it has started from this kind of corruption in the exam as well. Leak of the question paper, right. I think the quotas, and they want, and the most importantly, the protesters in this movement, along with this movement, the claims or demands that are asserted, their claim is they want 50% quota for the women. So it's against inequality, it's against gender justice. So let us see how far is that goes in the run of the election, in the run of, and what it turns into. Many political critics are envisaging that there is a hard days ahead for Indian democracy. Let's see where it ends.
Of course, once again, outstanding statements coming from you, Professor Shibli. I thank you for joining on this program today with various contributions. That is a fact for today. And with that being said, I'm signing out on International Affairs.